All the cool kids are doing that, man. Come on.
3, 2, 1.
There it is.
Yes,
Nice.
it's the Dangerous Conversations podcast.
Hey, how you doing?
I know by the fourth one I'd finally be able to say it correctly. But we're wiping the board clean. We're starting over.
That's it.
Now we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We figured this out, podcasting.
We're geniuses.
Gotta have good music.
Yeah, that's a good song. Who does that?
In general, or
Well,
that particular song?
we'll get to that later.
Good. That is a song by Liam and Nick.
Yes.
I'm Nick.
I'm Liam.
We're Liam and Nick. We're going to futz our way through some dangerous conversations.
Yes.
And I learned who the dangerous conversations are for.
Who are they for?
They're for me.
They're for you
They're for me.
and for me?
I thought we were going to Quentin Tarantino our way through the zeitgeist and scare women and children and be the scourge of the left and the right.
But we do that already.
Yes, but now we're going to do it for profit on podcasts.
Oh, I see.
This
Awesome.
this podcast brought to you by Pappy's Knuckle Sandwich. Have a nice Pappy's Knuckle Sandwich.
There you go.
When
Give me a
the-
sound effect for that,
A
man.
nice CNT, knuckle lettuce tomato. When the knuckle is nice and fresh, try Pappy's Knuckle Sandwich.
Found at your local deli.
I'm having a drink. We're drinking this time.
Yes.
Cheers.
Some whiskeys. Cheers. Cheers, man.
So yeah, I thought if we just were willing to say the things other people weren't willing to say, that there would be interest in our crazy free spirits. And now I know that that's not the goal at all.
Yeah.
That the purpose of the dangerous conversations is that I'm paying so much attention to what someone with a different opinion says that I'm actually in danger of changing my mind.
Okay. All right.
The ultimate taboo.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Don't dare change your mind.
that don't fly today. It's the top conversations are not for learning things.
No. Once you pick a side, you got to stay on that side forever.
Yes.
Yes.
So we're gonna try an experiment here and see if dangerous conversations actually can draw an audience.
It's all right. We can do it.
Well, we don't have any followers yet. We're already 2 minutes and 55 seconds into this podcast. So,
Come on, people. Can't you hear us in the cloud?
I'm starting on some rules.
Okay. What are the rules?
So far, we'll revisit the rules we've had in earlier podcasts with much less lofty goals. So I know before we said no cussing. I say fuck that.
Fuck that shit.
Okay.
All right.
So we're in agreement. There's not a rule against cussing.
Okay.
Okay.
And these are rules for us, right?
These are, rules for the podcast
Okay.
in general. And us, and obviously anyone
Any
who...
guest we might have.
Yeah, and obviously rules. Nothing gets you quality guests like shooting off a list of rules. Right. So yeah, this is more in helping us figure out in between moments when we're recording what we're going to actually try to do to accomplish.
Gotcha.
The second goal is I can't keep this thing hidden. I've got family and friends on all sides of the political spectrum.
Just gotta let it out there.
Yeah, and there was a lot of boldness that I was ready to have in terms of being the scourge of the left and the right by keeping it hidden from people who actually know who I am. And so...
Dangerous conversations are hard to actually have. So,
Yes.
yeah.
And I know if I ground my conversations in only saying things that I would repeat to people, everyone that I know.
Right. I think kind of a cornerstone of what this is about is that it is hard to have these conversations, and even within your own, group of people that you know, it's hard to have any thought outside of that little group. And it's probably not true for everyone, but I think it's common enough that it's an issue. I think that's kind of where we're at with things.
Yeah, and the fear, well, like it's the whole point of Spider-Man was he wears a mask to protect his loved ones from the consequences of what he goes out and does.
Right.
And if I was to think of anything, like if I had an opinion on Black Lives Matter,
Right.
and it was nuanced in any way, would my daughters go, oh no, my dad's a racist too, there's so many of them out there, and oh no, my dad's one of them too, or my wife doesn't like conflict. And
Yeah.
it's funny, she says there's a strange balance I have. Well, she didn't say it this way, but I clearly don't like conflict in our relationship. I shouldn't say clearly, because there's two people who know that, and none of those people are
Clearly.
in this room right now besides me. But there's a social media fight-picking tyrannical monster inside me, which led me down the path I went down on the social media awareness thing. I was talking with my wife the other day on a bike ride, realizing what got me down the path of becoming aware of the bullshit that social media brings out in too many people is what a cock I've been and would happily be.
Like, okay. all
What
right.
what a cock is going to be.
Just
That's the
full
new
stop
name.
right there. What a cock.
That's the name of this episode, if not the name of the new name
It's
of the
all about
podcast.
how
What
you
a
say
cock.
things, right? What a cock.
Phrasing.
Or what a cock.
What a cock. Yeah, I'll work on saying that differently. It's time for a shot.
There you go.
Every time I say what a cock, it's time for a drink.
Someone should crow like a rooster.
I'll get a sound
Yes, you gotta get
effect
a sound
for the
effect.
board. All I got is
Are you
Ozzy.
sober now?
Perfect.
No,
Yeah.
I'm never. But
See, he's speechless. He's like, what a cock.
That's the test until we're going to keep recording the podcast until one of us is talking like that.
For me, it won't be long because I'm
Yeah.
already a mumble mouth anyway. so.
Yes. Well, you're only a mumble math.
Uh-oh.
You're
Uh-oh.
only-
Oh, here we go.
Shit.
Nick.
All right, let's start over again. Good
All right.
evening.
I think this whiskey is a good idea.
This is the Dangerous Conversations podcast.
Yeah.
I'm the host, Nick. That's the host, Liam.
Hey, how you doing?
All right. All right. Since we're in the restarting mood, let's just
Yeah.
keep restarting.
All right, let's
we
do it.
restart for forever. Every time's a fresh start.
That's right.
I already had a drink, so if you're waiting for me to stop
no, I'm
talking,
not.
then
I'm-
you're gonna fail.
I'm waiting for me to have a chance to drink here.
Take a sniff.
Gotta like that
Yes.
Prepper 12.
So that's the. It suddenly occurs to me that maybe us getting drunk during this thing isn't a half bad idea.
You know, since
You
we're
got a couch over there in the studio.
I do.
So.
and I have a bedding situation in my treehouse.
Oh!
Yeah, I got it all clean. I got
Ooh.
it all like completely
Oh,
closed
man.
in, and there's enough room for.
Well,
Like,
you better top me off then.
I know
We should. Why?
it's very comfy up there.
I guess if we wait for it to not be 1 billion degrees outside, we need to have a tree house podcast.
Oh, I think that would be great.
Yeah. We got wind screens.
Yes,
Good. Then we're,
wind screens and pop screens.
it's settled.
That's right.
Damn it. I think I caught your mumble mouth situation.
See, it's easy to get.
Yes. So that was the point I was making, is being able to post this podcast and then post a link to it on my social media accounts where my wife and children and my mother and my mother-in-law and my coworkers and the CEO of my company and
Everyone can hear.
everyone knows that this is something that Nick had to say.
So you're saying you're not afraid of being canceled? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I have to be deliberate in what I'm saying. Every time there's two things I've learned through the previous podcast that we recorded that we're going to get rid of. One is we call everyone they, which is great. I love that when we're talking
You
about
talk a
the
lot,
left, when we're talking about the right, conservatives, liberals, everyone.
Right.
We use the word they.
Yeah, of course, because we're not biased in any way.
Yeah, we're our own class of
Yeah.
awesome.
We're the agnostic politicians.
Yes. And the other problem, or the other thing I've learned is that I only say about 80% of what I'm thinking. And that extra 20% is what makes it make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything I say makes sense in my head. And then I listen back and God damn it, why didn't I...
That's right.
Why didn't I say all the words?
It's funny because being ADD, I do that all the time where I'll think that I've responded to somebody, but actually that response was actually in my head instead of actually, sometimes people get pissed off because I don't return text because I'll read the text and then I'll respond in my head and then put the phone down.
Okay.
And go, and then they get mad like, hey, you ever going to respond? I'm like, didn't I? I thought I did.
Yeah, I really feel like I responded. I
had a
identify.
conversation in my head.
I identify as someone who responded.
Yeah. What pronoun is that?
Me. I'm a me.
I'm a me. I'm a me.
That's it.
Mamma
All right.
mia.
That's our brilliance for the day. If we don't have any more brilliance,
that's it.
That's my gender pronoun. I'm a me.
I'm a me. And it's not just me. It's I'm a me.
I'm a me.
I'm a me.
Sometimes when I'm writing, I'm so far ahead, and my hand's not keeping up. I'm like starting a word with the first letter of the next word I'm going to do. Is that everyone? Is that just us?
That's part of dyslexia and ADD. Yes.
Oh no.
Yes.
Oh no. Oh.
But how often does that happen to you? It happens to me a lot, but.
Oh, constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yes.
Typing or writing.
Yes, I do
I'm
it all the time.
Take a sip of water.
Okay.
We decided to start off the podcast season with a brisk walk in the heat.
90 plus degree heat, yeah.
90 something degree heat. So now we're drinking water and whiskey.
That's sure to go well.
Yes. So far those are the rules. Don't say anything I wouldn't put on LinkedIn, my family's blog, my corporate board. There's something a frequent name we'll be bringing up throughout probably the rest of my life will be Jordan Peterson. And you'll get tired. Yes. Not you, but the rest of the world will get tired of my Jordan Peterson references. But he's my latest ideology man crush.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about what he'd learned while he was out, because he's been doing his thing for 30 years, 40 years, and now all of a sudden he's selling out 10,000 person, conference halls in London and traveling the world. And someone asked him what that experience has taught him. Has it refined any of his beliefs or changed anything? And he said the main thing he learned is that people are hungering for deep conversations.
Yeah.
As long as you are careful in the way you say it, and everyone's working carefully to understand what the other person, that the world is hungering to go deeper than we are going now.
Yeah.
So,
which is, I think, encouraging, because I think that's the only way out of this kind of turmoil that we're in is to start learning how to have these conversations that are dangerous and people are not necessarily encouraged to have, because they feel like, well, if I say this, if I say that, then I can get canceled, or I can get fired, or I can get whatever it is. And I think people are ready to have those conversations. I think it's just a matter of how we get there. Or is my audio not so great?
I'm hearing this sound.
I wonder if it's the fan.
It's only when you talk.
On your side?
It's like on my ears, yes.
Well,
we'll just keep going through.
Okay.
I did just swap the mic out, and I kind of hear it, so maybe it's just an artifact
Could be.
in for the live thing because I don't hear it after the fact. So
Well, there is. I think you've got what do you call that? Some compression going on.
oh yeah,
noise
there's
compression.
noise gates,
yeah.
and compression, and I'm sure I know there's artifacts in my ear that are not being laid down to tape.
Okay,
so
cool.
We'll talk through all of this techno babble while we're live.
Right.
And this is already 500% better than Joe Rogan's first podcast.
Totally.
That I think the first 15 minutes was the guy showing him how to hit record and look at his levels. It was
Of course, this was like what 10 years ago. So.
well, yeah. Which in 10 years, if we've got 60 million distinct downloads a month,
yeah.
we
10
will,
million just subscribers. Yeah, I think we'll be in good shape.
then we'll get more money from Pappy's Knuckle Sandwich.
At your local deli.
Could you hand me another Pappy's, Liam?
All right, here you go. Whack!
I'm having a sip of alcohol.
Please do.
Oh, that's good. So far, that's the two rules.
Two rules.
Two rules.
Two youths.
I think that's all we need. Cussing is okay. Can you call that a rule? It's hard to call that a rule. Start listing off things that are okay. End up with a long list of quote unquote rules.
Yeah. It's just a suggestion. Yeah.
Yes. Well, while we're exploring faults in the way God made us, I learned this because apparently this is a hereditary thing.
You were born.
I was born. I came out of my mother's birth canal. Not everyone can say that.
That's true.
In fact, there's only 3 people who can say that.
Okay.
It came out of my mom's birth canal.
Well, there's that. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. This is the best podcast ever.
Ever.
This is the What a Cock.
You gotta. Where's the rim
Podcast.
shot? You should have been on
I don't
point
have
with
the rim
man.
shot.
There you go. That'll work.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a generous
All right,
crowd.
That's enough. Yeah. Okay, good.
Sorry.
I'm just gonna let them go forever. It's cool.
Yes. It's only 5 minutes of
Of laughter.
fake laughing. The laughing is my
I
word.
thought
of the
I
day.
heard
Yeah.
that. I was gonna say something. I was like,
Don't-
laughing.
Don't,
All right.
don't make fun of my ADD that I just learned I had. My Asperger's.
Damn it.
My
Janet.
my wife was watching a reality show with. I didn't know what it was. I just came in and it was.
Tell me more, Nick.
Oh, here we go.
you
It
go.
was like this dating thing. I thought it was dating. It was like a young man and a young woman sitting at a table, and you just got cameras in their face, and
Just
they're
like Bachelorette or something.
yeah, something like that.
Okay.
They'd take turns. They'd say sentences. They're trying to get to know each other.
Yeah.
Just awkward as fuck. And I'm sitting there going, "Is this what kids are today?" And I
Right.
just I'm staring with my jaw hanging open, going,
Uh-huh.
"Why?" They really found some,
That go on forever.
yeah, which is always what the fire or that show. Oh, the fire
Anything
goes
that-
on for forever.
Okay, good.
Which so I thought, wow, they're really going for
The lowest common denominator.
making everyone look quirky for the sake of this reality show. And I'm like, is it more or less weird than any other reality show? There's
there's that,
housewives
yeah.
where they're yelling
Yeah.
at each other, and
Right.
it seems like you have to be dysfunctional to end up on a show like that.
Yeah.
And then I found out later that it was everyone on that show had Asperger's.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, man.
And so it was entirely,
That would be compelling.
yeah.
Because
It's when you know what it is.
Yeah.
If you don't know, and you just think, is this,
Yeah.
why is someone throwing those two people together
Yeah.
in front of a camera and letting them
Wow.
be like that? And then, oh, here's a couple more, and whoa.
Yeah. I've had some students that were Asperger's, and they're interesting.
Yeah.
It's an interesting situation they're in.
So yeah, it's good when you. I guess all of that to say is it's a shitty commentary on what I expect from reality TV show. that it's just, well, we just take dysfunctional people, put a camera on them,
Right.
and have the audience at home feel better about themselves because at least they're not these
Yeah.
yucky people.
Right.
And then there's a legitimately interesting show on.
Right.
I didn't catch the title or the concept, and then I just assumed that it's just shitty. Because they all are waiting for Gordon Ramsay to come out and slap them in the face. But the problem I was talking about, the one of the flaws that God gave me.
Are you still telling the story?
Let me go. Well, yeah, this is a different story.
Okay. All right.
Transition music.
Perfect. Yeah, that's good.
First,
That's
I was
what we
going to
think
say
of your
that
last
was
story, pal.
the wrong button, but that was the right button. I learned this because I passed this on to one or more of my children.
Genetically.
Yes, I think it's obsessive compulsive. Like if I tap my right hip, there's this sense of symmetry that's broken in the world unless I repeat.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never seen you do that.
I know, and I've learned to, when I see that, when I
Yeah.
feel that inclination to go, that's stupid.
Wow.
That doesn't, and I've learned to ignore it.
Wow.
If I'm not thinking through it, I'll
Yeah.
do that.
Wow.
And yeah, there's just this sense of, well, you know what would make the world right again is if you balance that
Yeah.
action out with this other action.
Yeah, yeah.
And once you see it and you know it, and if you get time to think about it, you can go, no. But even then, there will be, if I touch my foot wrong on the floor or something, there will be an impulse. A very controllable, but a
Yeah.
strangely useless
Right.
impulse on how to make things right in the world.
How long did it take you to kind of master that?
I think once I realized it,
You're
yeah.
able to like kind of stop yourself.
yeah, like I can't tell you how many times I do it when I'm not paying attention.
Really?
I know I check subconsciously for my keys, my phone, and my wallet when I'm walking.
Yeah.
And I do it so often and I don't know I'm doing it. And the only reason why I know I'm doing it is if I go out without one of them.
Yeah.
Several times a minute, I'm like, shit. Oh, that's right. I know about that. So I know there's a lot of obsessive compulsive things going on.
I'll do that like before I leave the house, but after that I'm like, yeah, I'll forget. It's gone.
I also apparently twitch. Like my eyes, like
Really?
I'll just be looking at someone and I won't know it's happening, but I'll do something
you got a
like
tick? I've never seen that before.
I've never seen it either, but my wife's actually filmed it.
Really?
And she brought me into the hospital to talk about it, to the
Really?
doctor's office. And yeah, when she showed me, because she just looks like she's over there on the phone, and I don't know if
She's
it's low blood
filming
sugar
you.
or something. Well, because she'd
Yeah.
tell me, she's like, do you know what you just did? I'm like, what? She's like,
Yeah.
Your head just twitched a lot. I'm like,
Really?
No.
Is this reason?
I don't, the doctor is like, because he couldn't see it happen.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, well, let's do it. Like,
And Twitch.
He's like, if it's a problem, then we'll deal with it if the
Right.
problem arises. But yeah, she
Yeah.
showed me a video. It's like, here's a video of me talking, and then I do it. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't
That's crazy.
know that was happening.
I definitely have some synchronicities.
Perfect.
I'm sure that's not a word.
Idiosyncronicities.
Sure. But yeah, not a tick that I'm aware of, but just the mumbles
Yes.
and the ADD.
Yes. So I think that's a list of all my flaws.
Well, we're going to be here a while, pal.
Oh, I'm still sober. Oh, I got a story. We're
Okay.
gonna
Tell me a story.
tell a story about just that reminded me of I had a roommate in college who
That's really loud.
what
Huh?
the honorary Frenchman,
Bonfire.
the honorary Frenchman with the
Honorary?
honorary. He had the natural fragrance about him. I think I can say that because I've done a lot of traveling in France, and there's a special case of.
What is that fake fragrance anyway?
I believe it's the natural human body,
Okay.
and he.
So all homeless people are French? We're trying to say?
Well, French in spirit. He would shower and he'd dry off with my towel. And apparently he wouldn't at any point lift his arms up and put soap in his armpits, so he just dried it off with my towel.
Thanks, pal. Thanks, buddy.
And then I'd take a shower to go to dry off and start to dry off my face and
Is that French bread? What is that?
throw the towel on the ground and burn my nostril hair out. I'm like, what the hell is that? He's like, yeah, that's my one flaw. So that's where I get that line.
Okay, all right.
My one
I see.
flaw.
Okay. a reference to a nasty towel. Okay. got it.
Yes.
Cool. I like it.
And well, it's just a
Now
funny
everyone
way to
else knows at
disarm.
home. It's
Now everyone knows. Now I'm not going to say which roommate it was.
Well,
I've
you don't
had
have to
over
say, yeah.
6 roommates in my time.
just all gonna have to guess.
Yes. So
Yes. Tell me a story.
I want to talk about. I got my paper here. I got my notes.
Got my notes.
I listened to. Oh, I've got the audiobook, which is why I listened to it.
Mm-hmm.
The Jordan Peterson book, 12 Rules for Life. And rule number 9, which is listen to people as if they know something you don't know,
Yeah, of course.
which, we've been talking about that for forever.
Yeah.
On the surface, that's obviously worth its weight in gold. It's so inherently true. It's so obviously true. But that's just kind of the entry level into what does it mean to have proper conversations.
Yeah.
And do you have that book?
I don't have it. No.
I brought a copy of it. I want you to read that chapter.
Okay.
And we may figure out a way to summarize it so that everyone comes on knows what we're expecting.
Okay.
If I can summarize it
We have expectations, by
somewhat well, yeah. and well, the expectation is that we're going to have a conversation.
the way. Yes.
He opens it up with advice. He talks about advice.
Okay.
Advice is what people give when they're like trying to end the conversation or trying to be right. Like,
Really? Okay.
yeah, like at least as he describes it in the context of a conversation. Like we were just talking about the receipt I saw for someone who went to University of Austin in 1975,
Oh, yeah.
and they paid $175
For
or
everything,
something like that
the
for
tuition
everything.
and
Yeah.
everything,
I don't know if that was a quarter, a semester, or per year, but it was still
Yeah.
less than $500 a year.
Yeah.
And
Of course, you only made like $3,000 a year, but
yeah. But still, the idea that I can say, oh, okay, well, that's because X, Y, Z, or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, that's advice. That's just me. And it's not necessarily to be shitty, like I want to end the conversation, so I'm just going to throw out a quick answer.
Eh?
Yes, top me off, please.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, this is the last one I'm going to allow to be poured over the board.
Good call.
Yes. The idea that if someone says something and I have an immediate, quick, ready-to-go answer, that's advice. And there's usually something more meaningful to be gained if you have the conversation and there's the back and forth and you don't take what the other person said on the face value that you can get in the first 90 seconds. That if they say something and then you say something and then there's back and forth, then you can actually get to something deeper.
Yeah.
And if I was to say, for example, oh, well, once you get, what's the foundation of capitalism? The supply and demand.
Yes.
Once you get that out of what school costs, then the price caps are gone, and now you can get anything, and of course prices are going to go up. And they're cool. Not that I solved the problem, but I just gave some advice.
Right.
Big whoop. There's a deeper conversation to be had. So one of the things I learned was get out of the business of trying to reproduce my beliefs as quickly as I can
Yeah.
in the face of a conversation. That's not the point of the conversation.
Right. Yeah. Which goes back to the rule that we're kind of circling around, which is just assume that the person you're speaking to knows something that you don't know, and just always have that perspective of take everything as a conversation of and an opportunity to learn something from someone else, instead of just saying, well, here's my I just need to give you all my knowledge of the world because I know better than the rest of you, and you just need to listen to what I have to say. That's not the way to go. So
the example he gives is so powerful. He's a clinical psychologist, so he saw patients for decades, and his job obviously is to help them get better. So at some point, he's supposed to ensure they leave the office knowing something they couldn't put into words when they came in. And so a lot of people think what's his job to explain the world as it should be or whatever, but his approach is to listen and let people go on that journey themselves, and he's there to help and listen, and it's the
guide
conversation,
them,
guide, but it's the conversations that let us think. That if you're just sitting alone, he says that self-condemnation is usually what people mean when they say they're thinking. That it's very hard for you to sit there and think.
really,
To the extent, the point of thinking is to dig deep and find deeper truth than what you started with. And if you're doing that all by yourself, he's like, you got to be at least two different voices in your head at once. And you have to be going back and forth. And so you have to be, one, an articulate speaker to yourself, and you have to be an engaged listener to yourself, all at the same time. If the point of your thinking is you come out of something, stronger in your beliefs or fixing up your beliefs, or, if I'm just sitting here thinking about how much I like Knight Rider, then there's nothing coming out of that. But if I'm thinking, okay, well, what's the position or what's the proper place for Black Lives Matter in America today? If I'm actually thinking through that, I have to be advocating
both
multiple sides.
Right.
And not just doing a straw man, not just asserting the side I want to win by putting weak arguments on the other side. So if, to the extent I can sit alone and come up with insights, that's the way it happens, is internal conversations.
Yeah.
But
it's like being able to kind of hold an idea in your head without having the judgment next to it, and just letting it kind of live on its own, and giving it, I guess, having that idea and then kind of batting up, I guess, an opposing idea against that, and saying, okay, well, what does that mean against this? What does that mean against this? And that, and then kind of filter down to what it is that you get from all that.
If this, then what happens?
Right.
We talk about the results. What are the results? What are the outcomes? Is this going to lead to the outcomes that I want? Because intentions are one thing, but then you have to look at the outcomes and always be evaluating. And to the extent when you're alone, you can polish or refine your beliefs. You still can't learn anything you don't know, because it's still only you involved. So the idea that conversations, either with yourself or with other people, are the way we restructure our brains, the way we really learn and become better people. If hopefully that's everyone's goal. Right. If that's not your goal, then
well, that's the thing.
Another podcast
is that it's. I think we're so distracted with everything that's going on with our technology, be it social media, be it pick your media source, whatever it is that it keeps you so busy with these distractions that you never have a chance to really you know, have these moments of reflection where you kind of do that exercise that you're talking about. Is that, you know, how do I actually feel about things? Do I, you know, have I had that contrast in my head to be able to kind of have an opinion that's my own, and how do I move forward with that opinion?
Yeah. Jordan was talking about how, you know, we might on the surface go like, oh, well, you know, I've got the world pretty straightened out in my head. I don't have contradictory beliefs rolling around in my head. And, you know, everyone in the laughed like you did. That
Yeah.
it's, when you say it that way, it's so obviously.
Yeah.
It's like it's the only time it becomes difficult is when you have two contradictory things facing you at the exact same time. That it's so easy to compartmentalize and half think through something and half think through something else, and they totally don't jive at all.
Yeah.
But you end up with my favorite example is is there a difference between men and women? Is there a reason why there should be diversity? Like, if you say, oh, well, this panel's just all men, and there's not enough women on the panel,
Right.
that's, you know, you're saying you're missing out on something special.
Another perspective. Yeah.
But then, okay, but what about the other idea of, okay, well, if someone thinks they're a woman, then they're a woman. It's like, okay, well, how do those two things go together? Is it really that, okay, anyone who truly identifies as a woman, then you get that woman perspective? Or how much of that woman perspective is not, you can't just be 40 years old and then
Yeah.
realize you identify as a woman. You can't Caitlyn Jenner yourself into what people, and you know, that goes into the much longer debate of, okay, well, how long did Caitlyn Jenner really know? How many decades before
Right.
she announced to the world? But even then, it's those are two contradictory ideas, and people's, you know, livelihoods get trashed because one who advocates one is like, oh, well, you're not. You know, there's a feminist professor who says, like, no, women have this special thing that makes women women, and strong feminists support that. And, you know, people on college campuses today are like, no, someone says they're a woman, and you can't say anything other than they're 100% completely indistinguishable from a woman. Therefore, all your research and all your opinions are hateful and shitty.
Right.
And it's like, whoa, I think we can have a dangerous conversation about that and try to come up with what
well,
at least not act like you're what a cock.
Yeah. Exactly. No, you gotta say it. What a cock.
What a cock.
What a cock. Well, we're supposed to do this, right?
Got my drink.
Ching.
What a cock.
What a cock. What a cock. I think here's my little humble perspective. Why does it matter? I guess it goes back to people want to, you know, when it comes to things like that, you know, they want to be treated equal. And then that opens another can of worms of, you know, equal how, equal, you know, opportunity, equal outcome. Other than that, it just seems like it's almost, does it really matter other than that? You know, it seems like it's just an issue of how society treats you. If it didn't make a difference whether you're male or female, it wouldn't really be an issue. Other than it's the pronoun issue might be a challenge if you're changing your pronoun from time to time, because there's, you know, people that feel like they can change their gender identity throughout the day or things like that. That might be a challenge. Or, you know, you've changed your identity, you know, after 20 years of living as a male. Now you want to be considered a female. It just might be a challenge for the mass society to just kind of shift gears and say, okay, now we're going to address you from that, you know, that pronoun. But outside of that, I think it's just a matter of people are looking at this issue as a uh, equality issue.
For to the extent there's equality in terms of respect,
Mm-hmm.
I'm 100% for everyone being treated with respect for what they choose or not choose. For these, maybe harmless is the right. The life decisions that don't affect anyone else. You should get to do whatever you want, say whatever you want, be whoever you want. If you're not hurting anyone, then yeah, I've got no place to say you're doing something wrong.
Right.
The part of this I don't like is it seems like a huge component to the path we're on is trying to divide, trying to make one group of people say, well, you're not saying the right thing, or you're not, you're not allowed to be curious or really dig into the questions. We're telling you this is the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you either say yes or you're them. You're they, you're the enemy.
Yeah.
And some people...
If you're not with us, you're against us,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Some people obviously deserve to be referred to as the enemy, but I don't like the part of this that seems to be made to have people pick sides.
Yeah, I agree.
People should be curious about what's true and what's not true, and obviously when you're on the bleeding edge of redefining society like this, the pendulum's going to swing way too far off into ideas that don't stand the test of time, and then they'll come back, and the center point will have moved, but not as far as the outer limit of the pendulum. So I'm all for being curious about where the center line should be, but again, I think too much of that derives down to politics.
Yeah.
The simple answer of, okay, well, there's one party who celebrates this stuff and there's one party who hates this stuff, and if you celebrate this stuff, well, now you've done all the research you need to do.
Yeah.
You know what to do in November.
Yeah.
And that's lazy.
It is. That's I think the challenge of this whole thing is that in general, and I think everyone kind of knows it, is that human beings are generally lazy, in meaning, not to say that, give it a negative connotation, is that it's natural for people to want to take the quickest path to solve a problem. And that problem might be, an idea about something, to be able to distinguish someone as good or bad, as part of my group that I trust, and it's convenient and it makes sense because there's so many things going on in our lives that we need to be able to make these I guess choices and evaluate things quickly so that we can kind of move on with the rest of our life. It's just one of those things. It's like when we teach kids to not to go to the bathroom in their pants, is that it's natural to do that, but as a part of kind of progressing and becoming a more advanced human being, we need to learn how to not do that and to be able to kind of hold our water, so to speak, until it's the appropriate time we can relieve ourselves. I think it's the same thing. It's that it's a natural inclination to make these snap judgments because we need to have this information quickly. But I think it behooves us, our society, to not just make these snap judgments and to be able to take that to a deeper level and be able to give it more of a kind of a graduated idea, so to speak.
The rule we usually have in a podcast is no politics. Politics.
Politics.
No politics. Which obviously won't fly for something like this. And the spirit of that is that I want to maintain is that I'm not here to simplify any topic into a endorsement for my political beliefs. To the extent I think if we have a deeper conversation, well, several things occur. One of them is that everyone realizes that the left and the right are still 98% identical in terms of the people. If you have me, what are my concerns? I'm a bad example because I'm my own particular middle-of-the-road set of awesome. If you grab someone on the far right and someone on the far left, and you say, day in the life of what you do, day in the life of what you do, concerns you have, dreams that you have, don't mention the name of a politician or a political party. Just talk about real life. Everyone go, holy crap, we're 99% the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the sports team. We use a sports team analogy. Well, I like the Chargers and you like the Raiders. And I'm not at all prepared to have a conversation on why the stats lead to my conclusion. One is my team, and fuck you because you like the other team. And there's nothing you're going to say that's going to make me like your team. And that's not the point of any conversation. This is my team. Fuck you. This is my team. That's what. That's what I mean when I say no politics is don't have that trying to score points for my team mentality, that there's something deeper, more meaningful out there to find than trying to convince someone to vote differently, because that ain't going to happen. I'm not gonna say anything that's got someone's on the fence. Trump, I've heard that name before. And Biden, okay, sure, yeah, I've heard that name before. I don't know who to vote for in November. Nick, who do you think I should vote for? Like, well, I've given it some careful thought, and in the final analysis, I'm going to vote for the person who's in the party that I've always voted for the last 20 years. But here's the reasons why. It's because he's neat. He's sweet.
I like him.
He's petite.
He's got a nice cock.
He's got... What a cock!
What a cock!
Uh-oh. Time to drink.
All right, here we go.
For those of you drinking at home. Can you write cock in a podcast description? I know we can flag it for containing foul language. I wonder. What if it was just like put an asterisk on the O?
Well, what if we were like, a farmer's like podcast, and we're talking about roosters?
Sure. Was it the Howard Stern thing where he tried to break all the 7 rules on radio?
I didn't see that. No, sorry.
That's one of the sketches. I only learned about it on the Howard Stern movie, but there's like the 7 rules you can't say, and
7 words.
Yeah. So he had a quiz show kind of thing with the thing. What sound does a chicken make? Cock-a-doodle-doo. It's like this common plant lives on the side of a river. Pussy willow. That's right. So we can just do that.
Yeah,
this is the cock-a-doodle-doo hour.
I like it. Any cockle-doo.
Any cockle-doo. Doodle-doo.
Sorry.
Doodle-dee. Podcast of the year.
Yeah,
We should do what the assholes in the movies do, where they made an award show, like the Oscars. They're like, oh, we could totally suck our own dicks and have an award show for us, where we nominate ourselves. Let's do that. We should, by the end of the year, we need to create our own podcast awards.
What would it be?
We'll talk through that. Okay. I think we'll do a few of these, and then we'll make categories that we're shoo-ins for. Most childish use of a cock.
Winner. It's in the bag, man. We got it. No one can compete with us.
You ever think of a sentence, start to say a sentence on the podcast, not sure if you should finish it, and then not sure if you should go back in time and tell that
Former
old
self.
guy you used to know back before you,
know,
said that
you're going to
sentence.
say something that you probably shouldn't say. Let's go back and not say
That's
that.
BC, the Nick before cock.
Before
Remember that?
good cock,
Remember that time when I joked about childish cock?
right?
Yes. Damn it.
Childish cock. That's a different thing.
Well, but that's what I said. That's
Yes.
why I'm. I did say that out loud. I didn't think that part in my head, right?
Oh man,
That's what I keep doing.
You're gonna have to make some edits, man.
Yes. Back to Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, that's a natural segue.
Yes, segue. And this example he gave helped me formulate how I'm going to define my stance and what it means for me to be political without being political.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about he was doing psychotherapy for a woman, and she dropped basically this bombshell. Says, "I think I've been raped 5 times."
5 times.
Which, people go, wow, that's a strange thing to not be sure of.
Right.
And, which led, to a whole other conversation. It's like, well, that just the fact that it can be said that way means there's an infinite number of layers to the onion.
Right.
And every time you ask a question, it's like a hydra. That you answer one question and there's 7 more come up.
Right.
It's like, well, what is rape? What is consent?
Yeah.
And obviously not to say that rape is okay in any
No.
context at all is not the point I'm trying to make, or that it's not a massive big deal to people who've been through it. But basically her story was that she would go out to singles bars, she'd drink with people, she'd go home with the people, she'd make out with them on the bed, and then she'd black out, and then she woke up the next morning having had sex with them, and then was wondering whether that was rape or not.
Right.
And obviously there's much more traumatic experiences than that.
Yeah.
But basically, Jordan was listening to this conversation, and he was trying to treat this like a conversation as a psychotherapist. And he's like, okay, part of me wants to say that, yes, the men had a legal responsibility to get your consent every part along the way. And because they didn't do that, they took advantage of a situation, they took advantage of you, and they shouldn't have done that, and you were victimized by them. Mm-hmm. And he could have told her that would have simplified her life, that she would have believed it, that would have been a successful therapy session. Right. It would have changed her memories, the way she saw herself, and he would have earned his, success for the day as a therapist.
Right.
He said, but then there's another part of me who thought, well, you're an accident waiting to happen. You go to a bar, a singles bar, you drink too much, you go home with guys, you decide to go home with them, you decide to go into bed with them. Yeah. At what point, you're the person who decides to buck the conventions and then doesn't want to pay the price for them if you have more power than you think you have to prevent this from happening, right. Help you own that.
Right.
And so, and I could have told her that, and she would have formed certain memories, and she would have said, good session, doctor, and I would have earned my money as someone who gave her insights. Mm-hmm. He's like, if I was a leftist, I would have said the first one. If I was a conservative, I would have said the second one, but it's not my job to be either.
Right.
So he didn't tell her either of those. He wanted her to find out what's deeper. What's deeper than I wonder, and obviously it leads to destructive behaviors and what's her identity. And her larger point was that she didn't really have an identity, that she didn't have friends, she didn't know who she was. And what he said is like, if you're not the main star in your own movie, then you're just a bit player in someone else's movie.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's what he really wanted to get to, is not was she raped that one day, but that her whole life is her subject to the whims of others. And let's say, you know, she lives a completely shitty life where she isn't raped.
Right.
It's not, you know, he's looking at the bigger picture, and he's trying to help her get through and become a better person. And that's what the point of the conversation was. Not for him to pick sides, not for him to reproduce his ideology in her, not to reinforce his theories.
Right. Like, you know, what do you do when someone comes to you with that idea? Like, you know, yeah, I've had these experiences. What does that mean? You know, and that's got to be, you know, a tough situation to be in.
Yeah.
As a therapist, like, you know, which path do you take? Because one's, you know, like you said, it's more of a leftist idea, one's more of a rightist idea, and then how do you find like kind of the path in between?
And both of them missed the point. That's what I learned. When I try to shoehorn my stupid fucking political views into something as complex as the world,
Right.
I'm missing the point.
What's the point?
The point is that I'm so awesome that I learned this. That the world is lucky to have this podcast.
Right? The world is lucky to have us.
It's time for a drink.
Time for a drink. Here we go.
What a cock!
What a cock! We got to find a better.
Do we need a better tagline than that?
No, just maybe like the way that we say it, like
Oh, okay.
because you could have like, what a cock,
What? A cock?
and then it could be like, what a cock, and then it could be like, what a cock. So you know, it's all about how you say things.
I had a friend who would.
Tell me a story.
He'd
Nick.
go into the we'd go into the to the bathroom, like there'd be like a public bathroom, there'd be a bunch of stalls, and you know, if we're out doing whatever, and then okay, a couple guys, it's never like guys aren't like women. We're like, I need to go to the bathroom, and then all the girls
They'll
go
go
together
together,
because
yeah.
they go together. But
Right.
he was always mindful of the opportunity if someone went into a public restroom in the group that he would follow in
Right.
not too far after. Find the open stall, lean back a little bit, and go, say, nice penis. Just because,
You know what?
obviously, we're in on
You
the
just
joke.
don't invite that guy anymore.
Yeah, well, I don't know. So it was always funny because that, you know, that reflects on him. It doesn't reflect on me because
Yeah.
I'm just the poor victim who has a nice penis.
Well,
He's the
this is
weirdo.
more about you than it does about him. You're like, hey,
Yeah.
I just keep needing to invite this guy so he'll tell me that I don't have a nice penis, right?
Yes. I saw my cousin showed a picture of does this someone
You
as
saw
a
your
meme?
cousin's penis? What?
No.
Okay.
I did not see. I for all I know, he doesn't even have one.
Oh, okay. He's a Ken doll.
There's certain assumptions I'll make, but I cannot speak intelligently about Willie's penis.
Oh, really? His
But
name's Willie?
His name's Willie.
Perfect.
He
Willie's Willie.
Willie. He posted a picture of someone had a Corona in their lap. It was basically
The beer.
point of
Oh,
view.
it's
Yeah, a beer. Yeah.
Yeah.
In their lap and a book on the knee, and it's like trying to live life with the big penis or something like that. It's a how-to guide on how to live life. I'm like, oh man,
Right.
I could put out a book like that.
Yeah.
And so I went off looking to see if that was a real book, and it's a real book. It's on
Wow.
Amazon.
Wow.
Coping with life with the big penis, something like that.
That's hard to do, man. It's hard
And
to
then-
do.
Then when I saw the book next to it that I'm actually going to order, the actual contents of this book, it's just a notepad like this notepad I have right here. It's
And
just
what is the name of
lined
that book?
How to Eat Ass,
Oh, you're gonna order that book?
and it's got a
Is
picture.
it like a bunch of pork or something? Or
No, it's a
And donkeys
picture.
or
No, it's a good-looking female ass in panties. So
okay.
it's a
It's not
female.
like a barbecue book.
No,
or something?
no. It's purely a suggestive erotic book,
It's salacious in nature.
salacious in nature, but just
Okay.
the cover and inside. Because I've got notebooks like this all the time that I buy and write my notes in. And if I
You're
had a
just
book,
looking for someone to.
yeah, with this hot female ass on the cover, How to Eat Ass. Oh, what you reading there, Nick? So
Just
that's
trying to, you know.
that's the end of that story.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, there's, you know. Okay.
So I think
In all things, be your best, right?
Yes. I think we've covered everything.
Everything in the world that ever needs to be decided.
Well, we need to spread this out over a few different podcasts. So
Episode 1.
This is episode 1. I didn't want to put everything into episode 1, but
We just can't because it wouldn't be an
Yeah.
episode. It would just be called Life.
yes,
Yes.
there's a friend I want to invite on
All right.
and talk to her about.
Okay.
She saw
Come
yes, not come out. She did play softball in college, but
Definitely
definitely not getting come out vibes.
okay.
from
all
her.
right. All right. Whatever.
She and you know her.
I do?
Yes, you gave her guitar lessons,
Oh, okay. Cool.
so you know this person.
All right.
This person went through September 11th. And
like in New York kind of
yeah,
thing?
she worked at the stock exchange at
Oh,
the
really?
time, and lived
Didn't know that. Okay.
through it. And her story, for anyone who wasn't there, you got the camera view, the news camera view,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of stuff that came after the fact, but that's all with benefit of perspective to
Yeah.
actually hear the story
Yeah.
of someone in a building, told to leave the building, told to stay in the building, told, as people were trying to do the best they could,
Right.
moment by moment. And I believe she had high heel shoes on
Oh,
and
wow.
was not set up for a day of running through the
Right.
city.
Right.
So all these stories that make it real. And I was thinking, is there a dangerous conversation in there? And then I'm like, fuck it. There's a life-changing conversation
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
And she, when I first told her about this podcast, was obviously nervous because we
Yeah.
tell everyone, hey, me and my friend here, we're gonna stir some shit up,
Right.
really make things awkward for the world. How would you, as a professional working lady, like to
sign
join
up?
in? So she's, and then everyone. We've been behind microphones for 20 years together,
Yeah.
so we know that
God, that's crazy.
the world's just lucky to hear us blather on about
Totally.
nothing.
Absolutely right.
But the average mortal person who goes, no one wants to hear from me.
Right.
So,
Might want to hear from somebody else, right?
yeah.
That had some real kind of
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah. So I was talking with her. I got a book on writing my memoir.
Uh-huh.
So it's good to think through
yeah.
and to realize, okay, I've got about 25% worth of content. Of course,
Right.
it just has to be interesting and meaningful enough. I don't have to be Einstein. Here's the story about how I changed the whole world.
I
it
think
just has to be interesting.
I'm down with the whole, Andy Warhol kind of thing where like everyone has something interesting about them.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of how well you can tell a story and you can get, gold from everyone is if you
Yeah.
give them enough, or if you kind of look at their whole life in general.
Yeah, I don't know how talking about her is going to convince her to join. Maybe I won't
Peer
share the
pressure.
link with her. Peer pressure.
Peer pressure.
But yeah, we need to. I think we're almost out of clever ideas for you and I to mine out of ourselves.
That's not true.
I think we'll try the next podcast and see if we have anything left.
We've got, what? How long have we known each other? 15 years, something like that.
I think so.
15, 16
I think
years.
I think our kids were
Like months old.
our wives met in a parenting group. So
Yeah. And I think both of our kids are 16 now.
yep.
Yeah.
So I guess we can call it 15 years.
Sure. Yeah. So
I remember our wives pushing us together. We were in
Right.
Seaport Village in
Yeah.
San Diego.
Yeah.
Here,
Easter.
you're gonna like this guy because
Yeah.
he's a lot like you. And like
He plays
guys don't work that way. You
Right.
can't just throw two guys in a room and say like him.
But in this case,
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
it didn't work. Oh,
Yeah. We obviously immediately gelled, but when there's so much
Yeah.
pressure because they
Right.
really liked each other. You will like the spouse of my friend.
right?
Oh yes, dear.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I like you.
I'm been told that we're supposed to like each other.
Sounds good. Sounds like the path of least resistance.
Right.
I'm in.
Cheers. Cheers.
Oh,
To
that's
15
right.
years of of awesomeness. Oh, I've got like a
Wah,
10,
wah,
20.
wah. Hold on.
Ah, look at that. You got that. Good job.
Finally, I can use it in context. Maybe I'll put the rim shot on.
Are you sober now?
No, now, yeah. I'm never, but I'm going to.
Wow.
Okay.
Every time I'm like, what is he saying? I don't know.
Well, he's answering the question of whether he's sober now. Sure. So I think we've cut the
All right, Ozzy.
open with stuff. I think we've laid an impossibly perfect podcast out for the first
Impossibly
one.
Perfect. Yes.
That we'll try the rest of our career to measure up to the
Right.
brilliance of this, and at the very least, it's 50 times better than Joe Rogan's first podcast.
Totally. Absolutely.
Cool. So you go find a celebrity to interview,
Sure.
and I'll go find a celebrity interview,
All right.
and then we'll come back together and talk about parenting in the age of social media.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what we're going to talk about first.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. There's this podcast I listen to. Smartless, Dumbless. Jason Bateman and Will Arnett and some other guy I don't know.
Really? I haven't
Yes.
heard that one. That sounds great.
It's yes. I only listened to the first episode,
Yes.
but I was very excited because I'm a huge Arrested Development fan.
Yeah. Justin Bateman's a
Yeah.
funny and great actor. Yeah.
And it's basically the three of them, and what happens is one of them picks out a guest
Okay.
at random, and when you're Jason Bateman and Will Arnett,
Right.
you've got a selection of guests
Yeah.
that are
Not
probably
the
not what we're going to get for our
Right.
first podcast, given that we're a minute and 6 seconds into it.
same. Right.
But yeah, basically, so they bring on, I forget who they brought in on their first one, another celebrity. And so you just have 4 celebrities
Talking about being celebrities.
talking about celebrity stories. They're like, "Oh yeah, I remember when Leaf guy asked was dating my sister, and then we went out, we rented a Winnebago and drove across the country, getting high and skiing." And
Yeah. We do that all the time, of
Yeah.
course, right?
like, "Oh, remember when we were in that movie with Don Johnson? Oh yeah, I remember that. That guy was cool." And
Totally cool.
yeah, I mean, they're great stories.
Yeah.
Because it was one of them, I think, the other guy whose name I don't remember was totally mesmerized by Don Johnson. Or no, it was Jason Bateman. It's
Really?
like, oh my God, or I forget. It was, Will Arnett was the could take it or leave it with Don Johnson.
Really?
And then
Okay.
Don Johnson was totally like, hey, working with whoever couldn't care. It's like, hey,
Right.
I'm thinking of a movie and this and that. And
Yeah.
the person who was like, embarrassingly fanboy slobbering over Don Johnson got the cold shoulder.
Oh man.
And the person, the playing hard to get, the guy who could take it or leave it was
Right.
the. So I like good stories like that. But
Yeah.
most of the stories we're totally famous and we totally get to do drugs and party and bang hot chicks all the time and
like yeah.
an hour of that. And
Right.
it's like, okay, that's a certain audience.
Yeah. All the people that I know that are famous probably don't have as cool of stories, and I probably couldn't get them to reply to a message at this point.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking more, like the Joe Rogan style, where you're not just getting a party douchebag person who also happens to be famous, so you
Yeah.
can tell your stories about riding
Right.
a mountain bike while you were high.
Right.
More of the experts in certain things, and fame's
yeah.
secondary. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
the what can we learn. So that's our homework assignment: is
Right.
bring me a celebrity, and I'll bring a celebrity.
All right.
And we'll just keep talking. We'll just keep mincing about amongst ourselves until we get some celebrities.
There you go. There you go.
I'm gonna go for Rainn Wilson. How about that?
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure he's down.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that
I'm gonna-
email will be responded to immediately.
Okay. Do you have a celebrity in mind?
Well, I know a few.
Yeah.
Well, I did know a few. But,
Okay.
But I haven't spoken to them in many a year.
Yes.
and they probably would be like, who? What's your name again?
Oh, come
Who are
on.
you?
Oh, come on.
But they're all musicians, so, you know.
What do they know?
Right? Exactly. It's funny, though. I had someone who I was in a band with, like, in the early 90s, that recently reached out to me on Facebook, and is now had become friends with someone who's in a semi-famous band in the metal world, and I didn't realize that they were friends at this point.
Oh.
And I've had interactions with this person, and you know, it is what it is. But it's interesting that they connected on their own, and I knew this person. It was like, we're like, oh wow, you know that guy? That's crazy. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So it's weird, like, you know, when you know somebody, and then they end up learning or knowing somebody else that you've had interactions with that were questionable, and then you're like, okay, well, how do I deal with this person that I've known for a while and that had that connection to them that I didn't have a great connection with, and you know, and yeah, it's a long story. You're like, crickets.
Hold on, I got a crickets button.
Anyway, yeah. So
Get to the salacious story.
sorry.
The dead hookers in the dumpster.
Well, what's funny though is that they invited me to a jam that they have like every year in, like, I don't know, the Bay Area, and that would put me in a position where I would have to like meet everybody together and be like, wait, you know this guy? Wait, you know this guy? Oh, you know. And then it's like, okay, what are they going to say about you at that point when you're like in the middle, about ready to like, you know, go on stage or something like that? That'd be weird, but you know.
Yeah. I've met a bunch of people and had short conversations. The original drummer for Nirvana, we opened for them while we were on tour.
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about someone who has every reason to have a chip on their shoulder.
Right.
Go meet the guy who was replaced by Dave Grohl in Nirvana.
Yeah, that's got to be a rough spot.
Yeah. We opened for John 5 a couple years ago.
Oh, that's right. I was there.
Yeah.
I was there.
I got a chat with him
Yeah.
a little bit.
He seems like an interesting guy.
He's yeah. From all he was not amused with the green room, and so he was terse.
Yeah. Yeah. The brick
He
by
was-
brick is not
yeah.
necessarily.
He was not in the mood for being chatty, but all I've heard from everyone else was what a great, thoroughly grounded, decent person he was. So
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, not a lot of chat. I can tell everyone my Robin Williams story sometime about the
There you go. That's
the
a good one.
hours I spent dealing with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I liken my thought process to him, except his mind's going a million miles a minute, and yet he manages to get the words out.
Yeah.
My mind's going a million miles a minute, and I'm just taking shortcuts.
Well, you know, cocaine really helps with that.
Yeah. So he just learned how to get his mouth going faster.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
fast as his brain. I guess cocaine. Okay. Well, I think
Yes.
we're gonna hit the road.
There you go.
We're gonna go off to our mansion in Mansionland
Yes.
and think deep thoughts.
God, it's a good fucking song, man.
This is. We can tell the story of this song,
Yes. One
Later.
day. One day.
but I wrote it.
Did you?
That's how I remember it.
Yeah. I remember I wrote it too.
Wow. Did we both write it
I was
together?
I was
or-
present at least.
I was there too.
Yes.
All right. Well, piss off.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Now I'm gonna hit stop.